Welcome to Girl Talk. Today is February 28th, 2023, and we are talking about self love. Yep, we're here and we want you to be all in. This is Girl Talk. Did you know both our first and last love is self love? Yep, that comes from positive psychology. Our first love and our last love is self love because what? Write down on your sheet of paper why do you think that both our first and last love is self love? Now that you have it written down on your paper, we're going to move into our self love podcast. Watch the podcast Girl Talk with your host, yep, me, Jazmine Clarke, and guest speaker, Tocarra Jackson. On your paper, you're going to answer the following questions when watching the video. Again, write these questions down so that way you'll have them and be able to answer them after watching the video. Question number one: how do you define self love? Question two: how does social media and peer pressure affect self love? Question three: how does failure affect your idea of self love? And last but not least, question four: when do you feel successful? Our guest speaker, Takara Jackson, is going to be answering these questions in the Girl Talk Self Love podcast. When you are done answering the questions at the end of the video, I want you to write one question that you still have about the topic self love. The ladies of Zeta Upsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated will help you to answer the questions within your group sessions. So get ready, sit back, get your pen and paper. We're going to go ahead and watch our podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Girl Talk. I am your host for today, Jazmine Clarke. I am a member of the Zeta Upsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. And my co host for today for this self love podcast is Takara Jackson. So, Takara Jackson, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. I go by Miss T for those who need to know. I'm a social worker. I do therapy. I specialize in SEL, which is social emotional learning. So I believe that everything starts in your brain with your thoughts. And once you can control those, you can have control of your behaviors and your actions. It's a little bit about
That
me.
is that's so cool. So, do you like being a therapist and a social worker at the same time?
Yes, they have their perks. It works for me because I don't want to get burnt out. In our community, there's a lot of need. There's a lot of resources that our people need access to, don't know how to get to. And sometimes you can get burnt out doing one or the other. And so as a backup plan, that way I'm constantly in the know, constantly honing my skills, but very involved with the community as well. I make sure that it's important for me to be able to do both.
So, we're talking to girls today that are ages 11 to 19,
Mhm.
and they need to know about self love. So, for me, self love is, how do I view myself? How do
Mhm.
I like connect with the inner person that's
Mhm.
inside when nobody else is there? How do
Right.
I love on myself? Like how can I make that connection to know that I'm somebody, I'm valued, I'm loved,
Mhm.
obviously, but I know it's hard sometimes, especially like growing up with peer pressure and social media. It was really hard for me to figure out what self-love is.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you. I know that you have some great information to share with the girls,
Yeah.
and the spotlight is now on you.
Thank you. And so I'll go ahead and answer your question of what self-love is to yourself. Self-love to me, it looks like loving me and worshiping me and giving thanks to me no matter what no one thinks, no matter what's going on my good days, my bad days. It's being appreciative of all my skills, all my talents, all my positives, all my negatives, and just being grateful for all of them and knowing that no matter what, I'm still that girl. Right. So having self-love, mine's come from self, as yours should as well. Not really, not saying that you don't need other people to love you and care for you, but when you can love yourself and you can show yourself love, other people love you the way that you love yourself. So if they see that you're respectful and you take care of yourself and you have values, they're gonna mock that. And so I think that's important, an important piece of information that you need to know.
So I really agree with you. And I think that like when you do love yourself, you're setting a bar of expectation for how other
Mhm.
people can treat you and respect you. So
Right.
I remember growing up and, being bullied, they called me some crazy names and,
Yep.
just like going through those stages of life. It probably wasn't until maybe the last 10 or 15 years that I felt really comfortable with myself.
Mhm.
So are there any like steps that you would give to these young ladies, just as like maybe some things that they can just think about when they start to figure out who they are and what they represent?
Absolutely. As a girl in those age ranges that we're talking to, it was hard because I grew up in the 90s, in the early 2000s, where Black women and women of color in successful, respectful areas, it wasn't seen like it is now. And so there was no social media, there was no um interaction really with those who you can see yourself trying to be like role models. So like natural hair is big now. Natural hair, people didn't have natural hair like they do now. So it would took me a long time to get in touch and love my 4C hair as an example. Like, until I started seeing more girls, more models, more people on TV, more celebrities with their natural hair, I didn't feel comfortable in my own. Also, as a woman of color, it was rare that we saw women of color in good roles, unless, they always talk down about us, make us look bad. So it was hard for me to try to find someone who looked like me that wasn't in family or teachers or just in general to look up to and say, hey, I can be that. So I think the first thing girls should do is try to look for a mentor or other women who is in a career choice or wherever they see themselves going, who's successful and positive and engaging and exude self-love. I think that's the first thing you do. Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who are positive and feeding into you is going to be key. So when you're looking at, let's say you're on Instagram, just not liking those with lighter skin or looser hair textures or who are half naked, give respect to all of us in all of
Yes.
our shapes and sizes and things like that. I think paying attention and loving on all of us will be good.
Yes, I love that you mentioned all sizes, all shapes, all
Mm-hmm.
colors. I think that's so important, especially when we come in a variety. We are
Right,
not just a one group of people, we are all groups of people. And when
right.
people recognize that there's
Mm-hmm.
so much diversity within our own culture, then that allows for more room for us to just exist and be authentic to our true selves.
Absolutely.
So,
A-
I asked you a couple of questions, girl, and are you ready for these questions?
yes,
Okay,
I'm
so we're
ready.
gonna go ahead and start with our first one. How does social media and peer pressure affect self-love?
That is a good question. And I think it's a good question, especially for this generation. Like, I think, and I'm asking these questions to you girls, when you look at yourself, what do you see? Right? So, in order to have self love, you need to have self worth. Self worth is an internal belief of being good enough, worthy enough, and belonging to others. Right? And self worth is also always confused with um, self-esteem, and those are two different things. Your self-esteem comes from external factors, right? So successes and achievements, other people putting into you, that's for your self-esteem. So for self-worth, when it comes to social media, what are you looking at? Who are the people you're following, right? And how you see yourself says a lot about the people you follow, right? And how you think others sees you is also important, because that's what you like. That's what you post, right? You're posting yourself looking a certain way because you think that people are gonna like you looking this way, or with all these materialistic things, or hair or nails. That is a reflection on you, right? And so I think social media influences your and peer pressure a lot of you girls to think that you need to change your body, change the way you eat, change the way you dress, because other people are doing it and they're finding this little 5 minutes of fame success. That's not it. So I think that if you give yourself a minute or two to look at your social media pages, look at the posts that you liked, look at the people that you're following. What are they doing? How are they representing themselves? Are they exuding self-love and positivity and togetherness and community and health and wealth and things of that nature? If they're not doing that, then I don't think they're a good influence for you, because what they're doing is altering the way subconsciously of how you see yourself and how you're going to behave. Hope that answered the question.
Yes, and I think that is so important because I mean, I have to do a little bit of decluttering from my social media time and time again, because I find myself going to the vlogs and the blogs and the gossip channels, just trying to keep up with the people who, and honest, like, they don't matter. They're not making any moves in my lives. They're not adding value. So I think that's so important that we just do, kind of like a check-in of our social media to think about who is it that we want to follow, who's going to pour into us mentally, spiritually, physically, so that way we love ourselves and love on ourselves. So thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that.
No problem, Jazz. And another thing to throw in too, it's like, we know that people are capping, faking it until they make it, and just posting how they want their life to be or the good things in the moment. And so what they're not doing is showing you the ugly sides. And that was going to be my next thing talking to you girls about when it comes to social media. You have to start building character. And what that means is stop skipping the ugly stages, right? And
woo, hold on. Can we hashtag that? Stop skipping the ugly stages, because baby, I know some days I don't want to show where I don't have my edges and my lipstick on. So go ahead, keep going. I love that.
Yes, listen. And what I mean by the ugly stages, it's the part of your life that are not perfect or Instagram worthy. It's the parts that are most challenging and hard and causing you to be uncomfortable. Here's the thing. Struggles build character. And if you live in too comfortable, you ain't gonna grow. And we talk about growth. So when I say stop trying to skip the ugly stages is what's gonna make you. The ugly stages is what's gonna give you strength and courage, and gonna help you when you look back on your life in 20, 30, 40 years. You're gonna be appreciating that. And you're not gonna be able to really go through to get to if you only surrounding yourself with I want to call it fake news, but like everything that's fake, stuff that's superficial.
So what I just got from that is that I need to post the bad, the good, and the ugly sometimes, because it just makes people understand what my journey is. It lets them know who I am authentically again. And I think that can probably be one of the key things that the young ladies take from this, is that it's okay to be you. It's okay to be you in all of it, not just the colors, the shades, but also a piece of what's happening in their lives. Okay, so I got some more questions for you, Tocarra. Are you ready for them?
I'm ready.
Okay, so my next question is, how does failure affect your idea of self?
That is such a good question. Here's what the thing is. People are not failures, but people can fail. You can't be a failure, right? But you can fail at something. And I think once we get out of that mindset that we are failures, then we can progress to what we need to progress to. You see, let me give you an analogy. When a flower does not bloom, you don't change the flower. You change the environment so that the
Mm.
flower can grow, right? And
Yes.
so how that ties into failure is if your environment, the people around you, um, the things you're watching, things you're putting into your life is not adding value, and it won't give you a sense of importance in 5 years,
Mm.
don't give it 5 minutes. That means that pretty much the expectations that you're setting and others are setting for you are causing you to feel overwhelmed, right? And so when you feel overwhelmed, you falter, you quit, you make mistakes, and then you feel like you are a failure, but you're not a failure. You're just failing. And I
Mm.
want you girls to know that it's okay to fail because failure is part of success. And without failure, there is no success because you need to make those mistakes because in those mistakes, you're learning, you're becoming better, stronger, faster, smarter. That also goes back to stop skipping the ugly stages, right? And so when it's not my job here to judge you. It's just to help you to see that you have worth, you have skills, you have talents, and sometimes things are just not going to go the way that you want them to or you need them to the first time, but they will. And so for that, I say lower your expectations, not in a way that you can't do it, but make them realistic. So SMART goals. I know you girls have heard of SMART goals. You want to
Yes.
be specific. You want them to be measurable, attainable, realistic, and in a timely manner. And when you have these SMART goals, they're easier to reach, right? And so you're not seeming like a failure because you didn't hit whatever goal that may be that was unrealistic, if that makes sense, Miss Jazmine.
Yes, that totally makes sense. The girls are about to do a couple of activities, and in one of those activities, I'm going to empower them to set a goal for themselves when it comes to self-love. You dropped some like really good gems to our
Mm-hmm.
exquisite gems in this girl talk, and I know that them setting goals towards actually making sure that they participate and give themselves that self-love is going to ensure that they not have a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy growth set. And I say growth because I want them to not just have a growth mindset, but bloom in all aspects of their lives.
Right.
So you got another question, girl. Are you ready,
Yes.
Tocarra?
Yes.
Okay, so last but not least, when do you feel successful? Because I hear a lot of young ladies, they put so much of success on how the world judges them or
Mm-hmm.
what the world sets as expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel successful, and how can these young ladies feel successful from day to day?
That is a good question, Jasmine. And they have to remember that success comes in many forms,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
success for some of you may be just passing the ACT, SAT that's coming. Success may be getting all honors, graduating, getting a job, making it through the day for some of y'all without losing it. Success look very different for each person. My thing is you need to ask yourself a few questions. Like when do you feel like when you say success, what does success look like to you? Why is this specific thing successful? And who is the success really for? Because if you're doing it for other people, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? And if you're trying to get success just as a means to end, that's also not really success. So I think let's go back to the goals and expectations. What are your expectations? Why are there expectations? How are you planning to meet them? And then asking yourself the questions of what is success? What does success look like on me? How do I feel when I'm successful? Here's the thing, girls. A win is a win. And y'all need to start really understanding that and taking that for what it is. A win is a win.
Yes.
So you may not be able to get everything that you want. Things may not go. Let's just say on a scale of 100. Let's say you want to take a test or you had to take a test and you got a 88 or 92 instead of 100. A win is a win, sis. You pass.
Yes.
We can do better next time. There's always room for improvement. So I think girls looking at success, don't mark your success by what other people's success is. Understand what success is to you and what that success will bring you.
I just love this conversation and I want to have this again because I think our girls need this. And I
Hmm.
think that not only have you just given us just some real facts that we can actually put into use, but you've even given me some things that I need to go back and reflect on, girl. So,
Listen.
me at my old age. So, I appreciate you coming on this Girl Talk podcast. Can we have you back, Takara?
Absolutely. And listen, girls, like I said, it wasn't my job to judge you. I'm just here to guide you to your destiny and give you a few gems, right? So it's up to you to believe in yourself and engage in self-care, self-awareness, and practice much self-love.
All right, y'all. We're going to hashtag that self love and just know that all of these gems are going to be accessible to you in today's activities. We hope that you enjoy it. We hope that you took good notes. And the activities that are about to come about are one, you are going to be making a love letter to yourself, girls. Takara, man, if I wrote a love letter back in the day to myself, baby, it would have
Listen.
had some of the best 90s R&B lyrics up
Hmm.
in there.
Listen, absolutely.
Okay.
What?
And then they're going to be doing an act of kindness. What is a way that you can show yourself self love? So you're going to be committing to one act of kindness. And then
Mhm.
you and all your sister friends that are in our girl talk, you guys are going to be creating a chain link with those sister acts of kindness for self love. The next thing that you're going to be working on is, you know what? You got to see yourself for who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, just like
Mhm.
Takara said. So you're
Yep.
going to be filling out a silhouette of yourself with words that represent you. And then last but not least, we got to leave here with an exit slip. So we're going to be committing to those goals that Takara said so that way we can move forward in self love, but also respecting our sisters and most of all, respecting those around us in love. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. Takara, you've been one of the best on this podcast, and we're going to keep having you back. Have a great
Absolutely.
day, and just know that self love, it's a good thing. Bye, ladies.
Bye, girls.
Hello, and welcome to
Now
another
that we
episode
finished our
of Girl
self love
Talk. I
podcast,
am your
we're
host
going to
for
go ahead
today,
and ask
Jazmine
that you
Clarke.
fill
I
out
am a
those
member of
questions
the
that
Zeta
you wrote in the
Upsilon
very
Omega chapter
beginning,
of
and
Alpha
we'll
Kappa
give you
Alpha
some time to
sorority.
do that.
And my co host for
Our
today for this
stars
self
are our
love
ladies of
podcast is
AKAs that are in the
Takara
building.
Jackson.
Please do us a
So,
favor
Takara
and pause
Jackson,
the
how are
video
you
at
today?
this time. I'm doing wonderful. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely.
Now
I go
that
by
you've
Miss
given the
T
young
for
ladies
those who
enough
need to
time to
know.
complete the
I'm a
questions,
social
we're
worker.
going
I
to
do
go ahead
therapy.
and move
I
into our
specialize
six
in
groups.
SEL, which is
At
social
this
emotional
time, young
learning.
ladies, you are going to be split into groups of six. Remember that you have a number, and that number will specify what group you will be in. Please don't switch your numbers because you never know what the switch up may bring. You will have 1 to 2 members of the Zeta Upsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority members supporting you as you move into your 4 different sessions. Please take the next 2 minutes to move quickly and swiftly into your sections. Now that you're in your groups, let's get started with session 1. Remember, ladies of ZUO, to please pause the recording in between each session. Please give the young ladies enough time or adequate time to complete each activity. Remember, all activities will be done as a group, but you'll be leading your own session or your own group to ensure that they complete the items in each session. Session number 1, write a love letter to yourself. These are the directions. You will identify 4 qualities or gifts that you love about yourself. Then you're going to share how these qualities or gifts have benefited you in real life. Lastly, in your love letter, you will share how you honor these qualities and gifts. Make sure you start the love letter with Dear. So, for instance, my name is Jasmine. So, I'll put Dear Jasmine, Nicole Clarke. And when you're done with your letter, make sure you sign it with some love. So you're going to end your love letter with sincere love and appreciation, signed by, and then put your full name. So I would write with sincere love and appreciation, Jasmine Nicole Clarke. You're then going to place your card into the envelope and seal it with an affirmation sticker that will be given to you by your group leader. Please also note, if you know that you may mess up on your card, first write it out on a sheet of paper and then write it on your card once you have finished using the right words to represent you for your love letter to yourself. You'll have some time to do this. So, the ladies of ZUO, remember to pause the recording now. All right, what a great job with writing a love letter to yourself. Remember, on those days where you feel when you're feeling down and you're not sure who you are or whose you are, please remember at that time to go ahead and open up that card and read the love letter that you wrote to yourself. So now we're going to go into session 2. Create a kindness chain link. According to the FTD by design, being kind not only has a direct effect on others, but it has a positive impact on yourself as well. Everybody can use a little bit of kindness in their life. You are going to commit to writing one kind thing that you are willing to do for yourself. Now, I'm not talking about your mom, your sister, your auntie, your cousin, your dad, your baby mama, sister, cousin, brother. We are talking about for you. When you are kind to yourself, you start to spread the love to others. Sometimes it takes only one act of kindness and caring to change a person's life. Create your kindness chain. At this time, ladies of ZUO, please hand out the kindness chains so the young ladies can make their commitment and remind them to share with the other young ladies why they chose to use that kindness chain commitment. At this time, ladies of ZUO, pause the recording. Session 3, the silhouette. Tarwell, a mindfulness blogger, states that most of us associate looking in the mirror with narcissism or feelings of inadequacy. But learning how to see yourself in your own reflection can increase self compassion, aid stress management, and improve relationships and emotional resilience. You're going to fill in the center of the silhouette with words, phrases, and affirmations that give a clear picture of who you are and who you want to become. Take this time to fill in your silhouette with all of the great things that were just mentioned. Ladies of ZUO, remember to pause the recording now. This is our last session for our Girl Talk Self Love Today, the wrap up. What you're going to do is go back to your notes that you wrote in the very beginning. You're going to write down and share with your group mates one goal that you have for self love. And remember to share this goal with your group mates. Ladies of ZUO, remember to pause the recording now. Thank you for participating in our Girl Talk podcast on self love. We hope that you have enjoyed the podcast and the 4 different sessions. Remember, we'll see you back at our next Girl Talk next month. And remember, you come first because you love yourself first and you also love yourself last. Remember that always and focus on you. It's time that you put yourself first. Have a great day, and we'll see you at our next event.